So this time our quadratic inequality is in standard form, and we definitely need to have this in factored form, which means the first thing I'm going to do is get one side equal to 0 by adding 3 to both sides. Now the next thing, this is the first time this has come up in my video notes for this class, I'm going to mention, if your lead coefficient x squared is negative, it's very difficult. It's not impossible, but it's pretty challenging to factor something when the lead coefficient's negative most of the time. So I would just recommend in a situation like this, the first thing you do be take a negative out of the entire problem, like this, and then you can really, honestly, if you just lost that negative forever, oh no, you need that negative there. I was about to lie to you. And then we're going to look at this and just factor this thing out, and with the lead coefficient being positive, it is really much, much, much easier. So the negative, I'm just going to carry that around, and then I need two things to multiply to make x squared, so that's x and x. We need two things to multiply to make a negative 3. I won't worry about the sign just yet, but I will say 3 and 1 will be the numbers that would work. And then I need to get a negative 2x when I combine this inner and outer product. So this inner product is 3x, this outer product is 1x. If the 2 is going to be negative, the 3x has to win. So my negative is going to go here, my positive will go here. And now you might be wondering what this negative is all about. We really can, right now, we can still ignore it. It'll come into play once we start doing our sign analysis to figure out what gets shaded in. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my number line and figure out where this thing is equal to 0, even though we want it to be less than 0. We have to start by figuring out where it equals 0. So that would happen if x is equal to whatever makes this 0. So that would be positive 3. And whatever value of x makes this 0, that would be negative 1. Those will not be included in our answer because we want ones that are strictly less than 0, not ones that also equal 0. So these will have open circles on them for sure. And now we're going to go through with our sign analysis and just check each region of this. So if you think you're getting good at this, you might try it. Pause the video right now. If you gave it a try, here's what I hope you did kind of keep in mind. This negative, we can't ignore it. So if I'm thinking of a hugely negative number, I definitely have this negative here without question. That'll be there. Hugely negative number, and I subtract 3, is still going to be a negative number. So that'll be times another negative. Hugely negative number, and if I add 1, it's still going to be negative. That's negative. Whoops. And then a negative times a negative is positive, times another negative, overall will be negative. So this whole region will definitely be negative. Picking a number for this region, if I can pick 0 between two numbers, I'll do it every time. Yeah, I can pick x equal to 0. So this negative that's floating here, we need to carry that around with us. It's still going to be there. Maybe I'll do this in green. So we'll have a negative from that negative that's just floating there. If I put in 0, this is a negative number. In fact, it's negative 3, but I don't care about the value, just the sign. It's negative. If I put in 0 here, this is a positive 1. Again, don't care about the value, just the sign. And now I have a negative times a negative, which will be positive, times another positive is ultimately positive. So any number in here will make this positive. And then lastly, we'll do the same thing for this last region. I'll pick something hugely positive, but that negative is still floating there, so that negative comes with us. Hugely positive minus 3 is positive. Hugely positive plus 1, still positive. A negative times a positive is negative, times positive is still negative. This will ultimately be negative. And now finally I can kind of look at this, and maybe you had this figured out like 10 minutes ago. I want to know the regions where this is less than 0. That's any place this thing is negative. So that would include this region up to the negative 1, and this region up to infinity. In interval notation, we'd say something like negative infinity up to negative 1. We're not including either endpoints. You might say or they might use this symbol U, which means union. These are two different ways of saying the same thing. If they have neither of these, also don't worry about it. But just so you know, as you get further in math, you'll see these things used interchangeably. This region, which would be everything from 3 up to positive infinity. So whatever way they want you to represent the answer, it's somewhere in that purple box. Good luck, you guys.